The world thought that the Cold War between Washington and Moscow ended 30-plus years ago. But the realization is cropping up now that the situation's not like that at all. The United States and its NATO allies are rushing armaments to Ukraine as it faces a potential invasion by Russian forces. The US and UK have also ordered families of its diplomats to leave Kyiv, citing the threat of Russian military action. The U.S. State Department said in its evacuation advisory, "The security conditions, particularly along Ukraine's borders, in Russia-occupied Crimea, and in Russian-controlled eastern Ukraine, are unpredictable and can deteriorate with little notice," and added, U.S. citizens in Ukraine should consider departing now using commercial or other privately available transportation options. While Ukraine itself has termed the move premature and a case of excessive caution, no one wants to take a chance. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes how the Cold War has heated up dangerously. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by the free-to-play military vehicle combat game War Thunder. We talk a lot about military vehicles on this channel, but what about trying them out for yourself? In War Thunder, you can choose from more than 1,200 playable vehicles from the 1930s to the 1990s and go to battle on more than 80 theaters of war. You can fly aircraft, helicopters, drive tanks, and command ships of all types and sizes, which have been carefully recreated from their real-world counterparts. It's available as a free download on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One with cross-platform support. So grab your friends and give it a try. All viewers of Defense Updates that register using the link in the description below will also get a free premium tank, aircraft, or ship, and 3 days of premium account time as a bonus. At the heart of the issue is Russia's insistence that the US and its allies stop pushing into its sphere of influence, including steering Ukraine, part of the former Soviet Union, into NATO. The US and NATO believe countries should be free to join any alliance they want to. At this moment, more than 100,000 Russian troops are deployed on the border with Ukraine. Advanced weapon systems and armor have been shifted from different parts of the country to that region. This includes Iskander-M surface-to-surface missile system, TOS-1A heavy flamethrower, and multiple air defense systems. Russian landing ships are also headed to the Mediterranean to join a growing armada. President Biden has asserted that Washington would not put boots on the ground to counter Russia, but will provide arms. Significant U.S. weapons are now arriving in Kyiv, and Ukraine is receiving them with great zeal. Ukraine's defense minister, Alexei Reznikov, tweeted, together with photos of a transport plane with armaments, "The second bird in Kyiv. More than 80 tons of weapons to strengthen Ukraine's defense capabilities from our friends in the USA. And this is not the end." The Biden administration seems to be struggling to formulate an appropriate response. There is an apprehension that a scenario similar to the 2014 annexation of Crimea could be repeated, and that will be seen as a kind of surrender. This will be politically very problematic, with Republicans piling up pressure on President Biden for being too soft towards Moscow. President Biden is walking a tightrope and is looking to craft a response that doesn't look like he's giving in to Russian demands. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on NBC's Beat the Press on Sunday, "The Russians have put concerns on the table that they say they have about their security. We've exchanged some ideas. We'll be sharing with the Russians, in writing, not only our concerns but some ideas for a way forward that could enhance mutual security on a reciprocal basis. At the same time, we'll continue to build up the defense and deterrence that's necessary." NATO has stated its members are putting forces on standby and sending additional ships and fighter jets to Eastern Europe, reinforcing Allied deterrence and defense as Russia continues its military buildup in and around Ukraine. For example, the Royal Netherlands Air Force will send 2 fifth-generation F-35 fighter jets in April and May in support of NATO's Black Sea Airspace Monitoring Mission, the NATO Allied Command said on its website. This buildup has been happening for some time now. In February 2021, the Spanish Air Force sent 6 Eurofighter jets to the Mikhail Kogaliciano Air Force Base, located near the Romanian city of Constanta. From this base, the fighters patrolled the Black Sea. In Moscow, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Russia was watching NATO's moves and President Putin was taking measures to ensure that our security and our interests are properly protected. Peskov added, "Unfortunately, we live in such an aggressive environment. This is the reality in which we exist." Responding to what it sees as U.S. provocation, Russia is also flexing its muscle in the American sphere of influence, including planned live-fire drills off the coast of Ireland. Although the U.S. has signaled that it will not deploy troops in Ukraine, it's considering deploying 5,000 U.S. troops in newer NATO nations such as Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia, which border Russian territory and were part of the former Soviet bloc, actions Moscow sees as a provocation. The situation has been deteriorating slowly. Viewers may note that the INF Treaty, which was signed by Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev in 1987, that eliminated around 2,700 nuclear and conventional missiles, as well as their launchers, is no longer in place, as both the US and Russia have withdrawn. While for several years since the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia was not in a strong position, things have changed, and a resurgent Russia is now ready to confront the US and NATO. An escalation will be detrimental for the whole world, and the policymakers will have to deal with this very carefully with an aim to defuse the situation. It's to be noted in this context that the main players, the US and Russia, are 2 nations which possess most numbers of active nuclear weapons in the world.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.